We get introduced to our new characters with dull unusual life. Mrs. Dursley, Mr. Dursley, and their son, Dudley. They are boring and they like it that way, but they are also related to the Potters, which also have a son, named Harry. Because they're not so boring and dull, but very much different, it is not safe to be near them, nor have anything to do with them. In their small world, Potters don't really exist. Now that you got familiar with these characters, we are about to follow Mr. Dursley on his way to work, which starts off a little bit unusual. On side of a road, he sees a tabby cat with markings around its eyes, reading a map. But there wasn't a map in sight. What could he have been thinking? It must have been a trick of the light. Mr. Dursley blinked and stared at the cat. It stared back. He watched the cat in his mirror. He was reading the sign that said Private Drive. No, looking at the sign. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. Throughout the day with Mr. Dursley, we see and hear about all kinds of strange things, like downpour of shooting stars, people in long cloaks celebrating, and owls flying throughout the day. When he faces one such weird thing, he tries to rationalize it, until comes the time when he can't do so anymore, as he heard the name Potters and Harry out loud. We get back home with Mr. Dursley, only to find out a tabby cat sitting on his garden wall. The very same cat with markings around its eyes that was reading a map earlier. He tried to scare it away, but the cat didn't even shimmer. Having enough of this, he continued to hope mentions of the Potters won't have anything to do with them inside, where he slowly goes into an uneasy sleep. It is now deep night, everybody's asleep, and your eyes are on a tabby cat with markings around its eyes. You see its tail twitch and eye narrow as she saw a man who appeared on corner of the street. The man comes to light and you see he's wearing a long robe and a cloak. He pulls something out of his pocket and clicks all the lights out, one by one, until everything turns dark. Now you know that all these things that were happening are tied together. The very cat at the beginning was waiting for one of these people in cloak next to Dursley's house. The man sits down on the garden wall and the cat transforms into a witch, now eager to seek answers as you do. You get to hear about everything that happened. You finally know what caused the people to be so careless and celebrate in the streets in their robes. You get to hear what happened to the Potters and why this wizard, that must not be named, disappeared. Meanwhile, a second man breaks the sky on a motorbike, in which he brought a boy. It is told that the boy has to grow up here, and after a few arguments about the worst muggles imaginable, it is over. Before you know it, these people are gone and you are thrown back to a typical sunny day at Private Drive 4 with the Dursleys. Everything seems to be in place as usual, only now there is one more child than you remember. And from now on, you are following the story of Harry Potter, the boy who lived.